This is K Rockcast, the podcast where music and perspectives collide.
I'm Anne, a music lover who's the ultimate fan.
And I'm Kelly, a professional musician. Join us as we dive into the world of the Rose and other Korean and Asian rock bands.
Sometimes we'll agree, sometimes we'll wildly disagree, but what's guaranteed is a passionate, hilarious, and unfiltered conversation about the music that unites us and the bands that inspire us. All right, Kelly, today is March 9th when we're recording this episode. Today's a special day that I kind of wanted to give a shout out to Suga Min Yoongi from BTS. Today is his birthday, and I think the reason on this podcast I wanted to recognize him was he has a very iconic song now called Snooze, in which he featured our very own Kim Woo-sung from The Rose. I love this song. And I wanted to kind of talk about it today on Suga's birthday because it was honestly how I got introduced to The Rose. I think as I talk to a lot of other fans, this song has been a big entryway for new fans and especially those that were BTS fans and learning about The Rose. It would be a great song for us to do like an episode to kind of dive into that song. It is really impactful as the message of that song is really all about addressing the struggles of being an artist and like chasing your dreams and all the hardships that you go through. He talks about in the song his own kind of painful journey. And I think what I love is he really encourages younger music artists who are chasing their dreams. He kind of just says, I mean, the name Snooze says it, but he's like, it's okay to rest. He's like, it's okay to take a pause, once in a while and take care of yourself. I think about that message as we had, that really powerful episode of Into the Dawn Part 1, where we talked about She's in the Rain and we talked about, the struggles that the Rose went through, I think earlier in their career. They were being pushed really hard. And I think that's such a common thing, especially in the K-pop music industry. These music companies tend to push these young artists to the bone. And I think for Suga to use his platform as, a really powerful music artist in that industry to put out a song that basically says to these young junior artists, like, hey, you need to focus on yourself sometimes and it's okay to take a break. I think that was really powerful, that he put that message out there.
I think any artist pushes themselves. It becomes a competition with yourself.
Mm.
It's how far you can create and push and just get your message out there. It's not about the trappings that come with it, because a lot of the trappings are quite negative, but there is that want to succeed and what's next, and you chase that dream. And I don't think at any point anybody says to you, just take a breath.
Yeah.
You need to breathe.
Yeah.
And I really get that. And it's a really lovely ideology, because you burn out otherwise,
Oh,
and it's very
right.
easy to burn out. You have to walk away from it. I mean, I walked away from it. I know Sammy said he walked away from it. Lots of musicians walked away from it. Pete Wentz from Panic at the Disco very famously walked away from
Mhm.
music and then came back, and then that's when Panic at the Disco happened. So yeah, it is a really beautiful idea that it's sort of laying that foundation of it's okay. It's okay to be yourself and to breathe.
Yeah, and I love this. Yoongi and Sammy are good friends. Sammy's been asked a few times by fans about how this collaboration, came about. And, whenever he tells that story, he says, we've been friends for a while. Like it wasn't like some new thing. He sent me the song and he says that the song didn't have a chorus. Yoongi had only written his verses, his rap verses. And so he gave like full autonomy to Sammy to put his own color on it, whatever he wanted to convey through the chorus. And I think, gosh, I call them hauntingly beautiful vocals. Woo-sung's vocals are stellar, and I think they add such depth to this song. And so yeah, he nailed it. Obviously, this
Oh,
is a huge hit
oh,
for
completely. And
yeah.
without Sammy's addition to it, it wouldn't have been the single that it was. I mean,
No.
don't get me wrong, the album is spectacular. And unlike you, I was the other way round. I sort
Mm.
of came from it from the other aspect and then sort of found Sugar. I'm like, okay, I kind of like this album. Um,
Yeah. You're right, though. Without the vocals on this chorus, the song would not be the same. Like, it is a hit because of both, Yoongi's message and Yoongi's flow in his rap verses
Mm.
and Woo-sung's hauntingly beautiful vocals in the chorus. It's just tremendous. So, we'll definitely dive more into that song, but just kinda wanted to recognize that today. Okay, so today's episode is into the doom, and this is exciting, Kelly. We have our first interview, and I
We
can
do.
remember back in episode 1 when we were talking about how we started this podcast. I think we put it out in the universe that we would love at some point to have a music artist who was willing to come on our podcast and talk about his or her music. And we have our first artist, Francis Doom. So exciting. How are you feeling about that today, talking with him?
It's going to be really cool, to be honest. He's fantastic. He's such a good musician. And just to be able to sit and spend that time talking to him, I think, yeah, it's really good. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. We started an artist spotlight on our Instagram account, and you had highlighted him. Forgive me, I forget which episode you talked about him for the first time in our hot take segment. And then I decided to just pilot him as our artist spotlight and started posting about him. And yeah, he started reposting our stuff and we connected and Kelly is brave. She asked him if he'd be interested and he said yes. So we're really excited. I've been listening a lot to his music. We're going to talk in a little bit in our deep dive more about him. But before we do that, we have some other artists in our hot take segment this time that we wanted to highlight. Kelly has someone and then I have someone. So I'll kick it off with an artist named EAJ. So I don't know, listeners, let us know if any of you are familiar with EAJ. I've been listening to him a lot lately, Kelly, and I just love his music and I wanted to share about him. His name is Jay Park. He is a former member of the Korean pop band Day 6. And so, listeners, if you remember all the way back again in episode 1, our first news segment, which we rebranded Hot Takes because apparently I say that phrase all the time, we talked about Day 6 and how incredible the success they've really had in the last couple years and how amazing that is for just the Korean rock industry. So, he is a former member of that band. He is a Korean American musician, singer, songwriter. So, a little bit about his background. He and Sammy are really, really good friends because he was also on the audition show called K-Pop Star that Sammy was on. And they met on that show, have been friends ever since. He left Day 6 in 2020 and he went solo. So he's been doing some solo work for the last 5 years. And I guess if you kind of read about the style of music he has as a solo artist, it's kind of described as like this blend of like pop, rock, R&B, indie. I would say is his style is definitely emo. It's introspective, it's mellow. But I think what I really love, he obviously is a master lyricist. Like his lyrics are very poetic. He uses a lot of layered meanings, and I think he talks a lot about human emotion. And I think of Sammy in a way, like he writes very similarly. I feel like maybe to kind of how Sammy writes his lyrics. A lot of the themes in EAJ's songs are about vulnerability, mental health, struggles, failed relationships. So I think listeners, like I know for myself, like I really connect. Like you can really relate because he's talking about things, about kind of just that human condition, that human emotion that we all feel. So you can really connect. If you haven't listened to him, I just want to really promote his current EP. It's called When the Rain Stopped Following Me. It was released in September of 2024. All the songs are excellent, but my favorites are the title track, which is called When the Rain Stops. I can't get this song out of my head. I feel like I always put it on my Instagram where you can highlight a song. I feel like I've put it on there. I know I've put it on the Rosarium a couple times on the Music Monday recommendations. It's so good. And there's another really good one called Mad. It's really about like ending a relationship. I think that one is excellent. But yeah, listeners, let us know if you already like EAJ. If you haven't, definitely give his stuff a try. I think you'll really enjoy it. All right, Kelly, why don't you highlight our second artist today?
Strangely enough, this is another solo project of an artist that most people may have actually heard of. So this is Yuta, and it's Yuta Nakamoto, and he was originally in the K-pop group NCT. Well,
Yeah.
actually, still is
He
in
still
the.
is, yeah,
He
NCT
still is,
127, yeah, which I told
and
you, I just went to see them in
yeah.
concert in New Jersey, and so seeing you highlight him, I had no idea about this solo work. I'm so excited to hear more about this.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic venture. Last year, he decided that he was going to do his first solo project. You would have thought he would have gone down the K-pop route. God, no. Oh, no, no, no. He's like, no, I'm Japanese. I'm going to do this properly. I have a background in rock. This
I
is what
love
I
this.
love. And he's gone
Yeah.
very heavily down the 90s grunge and indie route.
This is
And
like
so
a, bold move.
it's so bold. It's bold as brass.
Yeah,
Honestly, it's such a stark departure from what he normally does. And
yeah.
it's a great album. Obviously, there's heavy hints of pop. You're never going to escape that. He
Mhm.
knows how a hook works. So there's hooks all the way through this. But honestly, it's such a fantastic EP. And it's called Depth. And it's the
Mm.
perfect title for it
I love
because
that title.
I know there's such an undercurrent of
Mhm.
emotion in the entire EP, not just within the music itself, but you can hear it in the lyrics, you can hear it in its expression and phrasing. He's really getting something off his chest. It's such
See,
it,
I It's so
fabulous
interesting
EP.
because for so many, I think there's such a misconception with K-pop and then the artists that they're all just this cookie cutter and none of them have real talent. And,
Oh
when
yeah.
the artists are able to kind of do their own solo projects and break off from, maybe what the company is forcing them to do as part
Hmm.
of the group, they can be so creative, so their natural talent shines through. So I feel like that's kind of the case with Utah. Like, it's so great that he's able to explore
Oh
this side
yeah.
of his musical self.
And it seems to be what he's actually done, and very cleverly, may I add. He's pushed this very heavily in Japan. So
Yeah, smart.
he's completed a Japanese tour. Not toured anywhere
I
else.
had no
He's done like a
idea.
six date tour
Mm,
around the whole of Japan, which was a sellout, obviously, and promoting this EP. And he's done really, really well, and it's been embraced. And I think it's one of these things where it will roll out more and
yeah.
more as it comes along, but he's hit the home audience first. And he's got a second single coming out called Twisted Paradise, and that's due early May.
Okay.
So I think we might see a little bit more movement from him touring the solo project elsewhere as
Yeah.
well. So that'll be
That's great.
interesting.
Yeah, what a great hot take. Like I said, I'm very familiar with him and NCT 127, but did not realize he was doing this solo project.
Mm.
And well, we'll wrap up with, we're grasping at straws, Kelly. Just
We are
any new
grasping
about the rose
at any
here.
straw whatsoever.
I mean,
So basically, the guys did Rabbit to the Moon, and then they vanished up their own arse like they normally do.
yeah, they are dormant. So
Oh,
we got
completely.
one tiny little maybe something where there was a picture posted on Instagram by a friend of Hajun. He tagged Hajun in it. It's a picture of Hajun showing his phone to his friend, which what appears to be, what it looks like when someone's playing the master of a song. It
Yeah,
that
he's
that's
basically
what it looks like.
he's playing a playback.
He's
So
playing a
he's
playback to
yeah.
his friend. So all fans that saw this instantly think, maybe this is a new song and he's previewing it with his friend. Like maybe we're getting
Maybe
ever closer to something.
maybe maybe not. It might just
Maybe
be an
not.
8 and maybe not. It might be an 8-bit track that he's been working on for some form of video game.
I know. But we were laughing because I think I put this out on our Instagram story. Sammy, if you're listening, your crown is he's coming for your crown, buddy.
Oh, he
You
is.
were the
We have a
spoiler
new
king.
spoiler king. We
No,
do.
no, no, Sammy. Hajuni is the new spoiler king. So step aside, Usong, step aside. Because Hajun has been keeping us alive these past like 4 months with his little drips. Yeah, yeah. That's
You
it.
know at
That's
the
all we got.
you know at the end of the day, the reason why they are quiet is because they are up to the neck in it.
I know. We say that all the time. So hopefully,
Yeah.
I mean, I just it pained my heart. I forgot to say this in the Moon episode, but after Sammy's birthday, when he posted on the Rosarium that he slept for 20 hours
Mhm.
over the man's birthday. Like, that is just that broke my heart. That means his body said, "Dude, I you need to stop and you need to rest." As Suga says in his
Yeah.
song Snooze, like, "You need to give yourself a break." Like, wow.
Mhm. But as
Yeah.
I said to you, they were ill before they went. They weren't 100% there, you could tell.
Yeah.
And then you've got all the travel and everything on top of it. Obviously, they weren't traveling quite as far as I was, but we won't get into that.
Yeah. Well, we will see in our next episode. Maybe there'll be more news, but that's kinda all we got on the front of the rose. Alright, Kelly, why don't we move into our deep dive? How about you give us a background into our featured artist, Francis Doom?
Yeah, so I'd like to introduce you to a project called Francis Doom. This is the solo work of Jay Sakong, and he's a Korean American musician based in New Jersey. Some of you may have heard of him before. He was originally in a band called Owl, and he was a singer songwriter and guitarist in that, and obviously he did a lot of production work as well. Owl were around through 2019 and 2020. They had two quite major releases that did very, very well, and it's a truly fantastic body of work. Now, Jay then ventured out and decided he was going to do some solo work. However, he brought in longtime collaborator and his colleague from Owl, the bass player, Nunzio Mudatso, and they wrote the album together and produced it and engineered it together. And as with all great things, it had the most of humblest of beginnings. And it was recorded in a converted shed behind Nunzio's house.
I love that. I'm just
Yeah,
trying
I
to
mean,
picture, like, did they have this rundown shed and then they're like, where can we record this album? Like, what if we try to fix this place up?"
let's just kick out the spiders and put some
Yeah, right,
soundproofing up.
right.
Yeah, you
But
can
I kind
imagine
of feel
moving the shovels out.
like if you listeners, you have to listen to this album, I Caught a Light. It is I feel like the whole vibe, I'm kinda getting the shed. Like, I
Yeah.
I feel like it, like, fits really well with the whole
Oh,
sound throughout
definitely.
this album.
So Jay has described his music as very much a modern take on a traditional thing.
Yeah.
And one of my favourite quotes I've ever heard from anybody is he describes his album as like a ballroom on fire in space.
I cannot wait to talk to him about this during our interview portion because when you commented about that when you did his intro in our hot take
Yes.
segment, and I think I remember I said something like, "I'm not even sure how like, what that even means." Like, I was so
Yeah.
perplexed, but then then I listened to some songs on the album, and in particular, "Sliding Down the Hill." I
Yes.
feel like the way it starts, I feel like I'm in this ballroom, it's on fire, and I'm floating in
And it's
space.
in
Like, I feel like
space.
I feel like I can see it now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Honestly, it's a roller coaster, that album. It really, really
It
is.
really
Um,
is.
it really is. So, I Caught a Light was recorded in 2022, and obviously, it's gone through the development. And Jay's been building his fan base, and obviously putting himself out on every platform he possibly can. And his latest single is called "I'm a Ghost." and it is such a fabulous, fabulous single. You can
Yeah.
hear the progression from the original album to where he is and
Mhm.
where he's developing. And I'm really, really looking forward to hearing what he's going to do next because it's
Yeah, me
quite
too.
exciting.
Me
Um,
too.
so
Yeah.
so Jay's whole vibe is very much it's indie rock. Um, and it's got this shoegaze element, which I know we've spoken about before when I
Mhm.
did the initial sort of introduction to. It's fantastic, but deep down, he's a hardcore boy.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
leanings of hardcore in there, and you can
yeah,
hear it when he plays. It's just every now and again, and it's like, ooh, that fuzz is coming out. And it's fantastic.
yeah.
And I honestly, his stuff is brilliant, and I can't sing the praises high enough. So
Yeah,
I
his
basically,
stuff is really brilliant, and I feel like, I've been listening to it more and more ever since you introduced him to us. It's like the more I sit in it, it's so layered and
mm,
so like the lyricism is incredible in the songs. I think in some of the description of the music, there's like a doo-wop undertone, and there totally is in some of those
yeah,
songs. It's, like, very much reminiscent of kind of 1950s, 1960s doo-wop, but with a modern twist. I think he's described that, like,
yeah, he has,
the
yeah,
bones of his music is, um,
vintage,
vintage, thank you, with
yeah,
this, like, modern, facade on top, and it is, like, it's so true. It's that now that I've
yeah.
listened more to his music, that's such an accurate description.
Mm. And you're loving that album, aren't you? I can tell you are.
Loving I mean, yeah, I'm loving it. I say, like, this thing as a whole, I feel like I wanna put it on, and I wanna have, like, either a small group of friends over or my partner there, and we're just, like, chilling. We're just talking, we're conversating. Like, I've got a drink, and I'm surrounded by candles, and I've got this on in the background. And it's just, like, so mellow. It, like, fills I feel like it has this calming effect that just kind of fills the space.
It does.
Um
It's almost got this melancholia in
Yes,
everything that
yes,
it does, but it's a very soothing melancholia. So
yes.
you don't fall into this trap of it being. I know we use the term emo. Emo for me is a very different thing from what it is for you.
Yeah, yeah.
We come from a different world. I'm suddenly hearing the start of Black Parade. That's the type of girl I am when it comes to emo. Um, Helena's dancing. That's all I'm going to say. Um, but yeah, and it's such beautiful, beautiful use of language, and he has these really ethereal ways of singing. It's
Yes.
ghostly in a way.
Oh, yes.
And but he knows how to use his voice, so he'll take it up there and then he'll bring it back down, and there's a warmth and a depth, and it works so well with how warm the guitar is,
Mm,
and the bass and everything else. So yeah, I
yeah.
really like his stuff.
Well, listeners, we obviously are going to link, in this episode, we'll have a link to all of his content on Spotify, all of his social media sites. You can get to know him, I think, too, through TikTok and his Instagram account. He does some great posts on there. He also has music videos on his YouTube channel. So please check out all of his content. We're both excited to go into our interview. So we'll move into that segment next. Hi, everybody. We're super excited to be here on K Rock Cast, our episode Into the Doom, because we are honored to have our first musician interview guest, Jay Sakon, or who goes by the moniker Francis Doom. Jay, it's so nice to meet you. Thank you again for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we were laughing before we started recording because you are our first guest who was willing to come on. And I think in our very first episode, Kelly and I joked around a little bit like, hey, if this podcast, lasts past the first episode, maybe we can get someone to come on and talk about their music. And after we featured you in our artist spotlight, thank you to Kelly for telling our listeners about your music. She was like, "I wonder if he would come on." And I was like, "I don't think so." She's like, "I'm going to ask him."
I'm glad you did. It's an honor to be your first. I didn't know that was
Yeah.
your first, so that's really cool.
Yeah. It's so exciting. I did not know about your music, but Kelly definitely knew about you all the way back from Owl, from your band Owl.
That's wild. Yeah. That's
I
Yeah.
know.
those two like chapters of the chapter that I'm in right now with Francis Doom, and then the chapter with Owl. It's funny. It's like it seems like somehow things like this like seem like yesterday, but also seem like a lifetime ago. And I'm just like always like amazed when someone knows me from that chapter, because it just feels so separate somehow.
Well, I started listening to your music after she introduced you, and I really fell in love with your music. So,
Thank you.
we're both really excited to dig into your music, kind of hear more about your story. Why don't you start off and tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and your music?
Francis Doom, and I make I don't know. I guess the word dream pop and shoegaze sort of come to mind when describing my music. And it's funny with social media with hashtags. It's kind of important now to like kind
Mm,
of be able to just like hashtag the genre that you want your music to be sent to. The people that like have reacted or interacted with videos that are hashtag shoegaze or like so you want to find your niche. And so I'm like, damn, I don't really know. So that's when I sort of like went down the rabbit hole of all these different labels, and I never really cared about them before, but I guess they matter
mm.
now. But yeah, so I make that and I produce and write all myself.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's incredible. I in this kind of age of modern day music, like, what do you being self-produced, what do you find harder, writing the music or then all these other hats that you have to wear?
It's funny. I don't. Sometimes I don't know. Like I feel like harder might not be the right because I never really think of it. I mean, it's all enjoyable, right? Like, what's the point if it's not all
Mm,
just something I love to do? So yeah, maybe more challenging. Writing could, but I would say writing, but writing could be the easiest thing. It could come out in a second, in a
mm,
day, and then it could also be something laborious and take like one song. I have songs that are just like have been on the back burner and I'll revisit from time to time and just like chipping away or adding. And it can be really laborious. So I would say writing can be, there's a wide spectrum of what it can be. Production can be a bit tedious sometimes because of just all the unfun, the stuff that they don't show you in movie biopics,
oh, yeah.
in the movies, they just like the band's making magic and someone just pressed records and it's like, wow, I just witnessed that. But really, if anyone were to ask me, hey, can I watch you record? I would be like, I mean, I guess, but it would be the most boring thing ever because
Mm,
it's tedious and especially production. I'm sitting in front of a computer, moving
mm.
blocks around, like, yeah, but it's not as challenging. So, anyways, back to your question, I would say writing. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think, like, then if you're self-producing and then you have to market yourself, there's the whole business hat then that you have to wear. You don't
Right.
have a record company that's doing all of that for you. How do you
Right.
balance that? Because I feel like I mean, I'm not a musician. I'm just a lover of music. Kelly's the musician in the group and she's balancing that, right? Her
Yeah.
band is self-produced and having to market themselves. Like, that might not be what you got into with your love of music, is that business aspect. How are you balancing that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because no one really gets into it to be the like head of their own marketing.
Right, right.
But and it's something with my previous project, OL, that I always just like I'm too cool to like bother myself with, like I always just push that off. But like
Mm,
honestly, who suffers? So I really made it a point with Francis Doom, like I want to know that I did everything that I could. So I
mhm.
started doing the social media thing. I made a TikTok account,
Yeah.
which I didn't do until this project. I just told myself I'm going to post a certain amount of times, like bing, bang, boom, and try to post quality. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, it is still me, and I still do care about what I put out into the world. I found that it's kind of fun, honestly.
Mm.
And when you start having fun with it, it starts getting good,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
anything else. And I think I was just there was a romantic part of me because I'm a bit older, where I sort of idolized these guys and girls that were never of like the business mind in art,
Mm.
and so I never really wanted to embrace that. But But yeah, I'm just finding that if I try to make it a little funny, a little artistic, a little something that I can enjoy, um, that it starts to get a little fun.
Yeah. I mean, I've just started watching through, like, your Instagram reels, and I think what I like as a fan, right, I always come from these in our relationship, Kelly and I, she's the musician, I'm the fan, that's kind of my perspective, and I feel like you always put out things that are they feel authentic, it feels like you're telling a story or you kinda have this, like, funny anecdote, that you might share, and I would think then it allows your fans to kind of connect with you, and then for you to connect with them, and maybe that also can make it, like, more, enjoyable that you're not just doing it just solely to market yourself, but it's a way that you can start having, dialogue and connection with your fans.
Yeah, absolutely. When I, one of the ideas with this project was maybe I'll just be really mysterious. Maybe I won't show my face. Maybe I'll just do like
Yeah.
a Sia and just,
Yeah, like
I
Sia,
yeah,
I
yeah.
yeah,
think
yeah.
we I think we all have those conversations. I must admit, when we
Yeah.
started this project, it was like, shall we just all wear masks? And then it was like,
I
okay,
mean,
which
I
route do we
see
go
the
if we wear
appeal.
masks? I mean, I can't blame them. I mean, his sleep
Yeah.
token are huge, and I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, they literally just wear masks. I mean, complete and utter
Yes.
anonymity, and it's like I can't blame them for that at all.
Yeah, it almost allows the listener to imagine them to be whoever they want them to be, in a
Yeah,
sense, to be,
yeah.
and, even in a superficial level, underneath that mask, I bet he's so handsome, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, like,
Yeah.
there's this sort of mythos, this sort of mythology that you can create in your head about who the person is. And so there was a part of me that thought, okay, the less I show, maybe the more malleable this sort of
Mm.
this image of myself can be. And then I sort of went the exact opposite route, which is just like show all of myself,
Yeah,
and see who gravitates towards it.
I think
yeah,
there's
I
more
love
in
it.
being yourself. I think there's more in that level of
Yeah.
vulnerability of actually doing that. I mean, it's scary as
Mhm.
hell. There's nothing worse than opening yourself up and being
Yeah,
there. I mean, it is much easier. It's like, sod it, I'm just going to do a slip knot. Nobody will know. But yeah, I
right,
completely agree. You do fall into that sort of like, I'm just a human, so this is what you've got.
right. I mean, to some extent, songwriting is that, right? You pour yourself
Yeah.
into a song. You maybe make it cryptic if you're not completely comfortable with confessing your
Mhm.
deepest secrets in the most obvious way. But I guess the part of this, and that's terrifying in its own right, right? Because
Very much
if
so.
it's not a if it's not a big feeling, who cares? So it has to be big feelings. It has to be really dark secrets or, whatever. But what makes this a little scary is that you're just saying it in plain, you're just putting it out in plain
Yeah.
view without any sort of hiding behind any sort of musicality.
Yeah. What do you think what's your kind of take on the current advent of streaming in the music industry? How do you feel like streaming has,
Yeah.
made the music industry evolve?
I can think of a bunch of good things that come out of it, and
Mm,
I can think of a bunch of bad things that come out of it.
mhm.
Both truths exist at the same time. It is both
Mm,
negative and positive. It is negative because artists don't get paid for their music like the way they
Yeah.
yeah.
used to, right? The only way artists really make money properly these days is through placements and commercials and movies
Mm,
Yeah.
or shows, right? Or touring.
mhm.
When I back in my day, if a band had their song uh if a band had their song in like a Pepsi commercial, right? It would be like, oh,
Yeah.
they're selling out, they're sellouts. And I think everyone sort of understands now if a band is now having their song in a Pepsi commercial, they're like, oh, good for them. Like they're eating, like
Right.
everyone sort
Yeah.
of understands the struggle. The,
Exactly.
the term selling out doesn't quite have the same meaning these days. So that's the negative, right? The obvious, which is just money for music. But I mean, so many positives, right? Cutting out the middleman of who gets to hear what.
Mm,
What a beautiful thing that we have this internet thing where some kid in Switzerland or some girl in England can
mhm.
just discover some dude in Jersey, like,
Yeah.
without any sort of rep or like company like having to push them
Mm,
or rip them off. So cutting out the middleman is always great. The accessibility, and with that, another negative is just the oversaturation. When
yeah.
anyone can upload, there's no quality control. But you know what? It's art. There shouldn't be quality control. It's
Mm,
gonna be hard to find the good stuff now. It's gonna be easy. It's easier to find music. It's harder to find good music.
mm.
It's that needle
maybe.
in a haystack thing, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah,
And when you
exactly.
find it, it's perfection. But just getting
Yeah.
there is, yeah, it really is a nightmare.
Right. Yes, I totally agree. And and also like niche bands can exist now too. Like before, it
Yeah.
was like feast or famine, like bands on the radio
Mm.
were killing it, and then everyone else is like not surviving at all. Where right now, a niche band with like you could be like all these indie bands can survive because everyone has their niche market because of the
Mhm.
internet. Not everything's fed through this sort of funnel of radio.
Yeah.
It's just this broad internet. So good and bad.
I have to talk about how you describe your music because I can remember when Kelly was given the overview in our artist spotlight of you, and she said, "You've described your music like a ballroom on fire in space." And I remember I was like, "Okay, let me break this down." Like I was like, a ballroom on fire in space. But then
Uh-huh.
I will admit, Jay, I listen to particularly I feel like Sliding Down the Hill.
Hmm.
And then I'm like, I feel like I'm in a ballroom on fire in space. So
That's awesome.
I feel like I get it now, but I
Yeah.
still want to hear from you. Like, what, tell us more what that means.
It just started off when I was starting this project. It was my solo project, and what is this gonna be? There's no limitations. It can be whatever I want it to be. And so I was sort of toying with all these different sounds, and what I finally landed on was just I wanted it to sound like a ballroom on fire in space. And so for me, it's like sort of telling a story, right? Where is it? It's in a ballroom. What does that indicate?
Mhm.
Okay, it's when I think of a ballroom, I think of something like a 50s, like I don't know,
Yeah.
like people slow dancing in like a 50s ballroom. So it
I
like
feel like it's like 1955 prom,
yes, yes, exactly,
right? Like,
exactly. Right. And so okay, so there's like a time and a place. Also in as far as like when, okay, like so it's in space. Okay, well like to me that indicates futurism.
mm,
So, okay, what we have is something that at the bones of it sounds old, right? Like so the musicality of it is old. I wanted interesting chord changes that sort of evoked, even like Beach Boys, like sort of,
mm,
just something of that time of like just vintage, but with the sound design of something futuristic. So
mm,
synths and, modern guitars. And then, so you have a time, you have a place. What's happening? Well, it's on fire. Everything's going to shit. It's this sense of impending doom, which sort of points to the performance of it. Like the intensity of which I'll bring to the music. Oftentimes when I'm writing music, I don't know why, but I think in like movie scenes, like very cinematic. Like
Mm.
so, I think
oh,
like okay,
yeah.
what's happening? And I maybe it's because I grew up on music videos, and like I always think of like
Yeah.
what image does this like sort of evoke. And when I was writing the first song, which is I Caught a Light, it's like a waltz, but it's like also it gets crazy, and that just it was like a mantra that I told myself. Okay, so this is what I found the identity, the soul of this project.
Yeah.
At least that record. Not to say that everything I make from here on out will be that, but and so I just kept on thinking of this image, and it was like my mantra when making this record.
I love that. Well, I mean, personally, I think that I'm a Ghost is very different
Yes.
sonically.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you say like the cinematic because when I first heard I'm a Ghost, I was immediately in 1980s, I was in a Brat Pack movie.
That's awesome.
And I felt like it was like the song that would have been on the soundtrack.
That's awesome. I love music score. I love, if I just soundtrack. Like some of my favorite songs I found like from back in the day, I found through soundtracks,
Mm.
like I don't know how old you are. I may be older than you, but there's certain like iconic like soundtracks like Space Jam, like from my childhood. What's
Yeah.
like an iconic soundtrack like Batman Forever. Horrible movies, but somehow had a great soundtrack. The Crow. So I don't know. I just love the pairing. Always, I love the pairing of visuals with audio. Anyways,
Yeah.
so I think maybe that sort of has always informed this want, this desire to make cinematic music.
Yeah. Yeah, we're like
Mm.
I caught the songs off of I Caught a Light definitely have that, like, 1950s,
Hmm.
doo-wop undertone where I feel like I'm a Ghost to me I felt like it was, like, reminiscent of The Cure. Like, to me, it
Oh,
had more of
awesome.
kind
That
of this, like,
that was actually what I was just
1980s.
gonna say, actually, with you saying
Yeah.
The Crow, and I automatically went to The
Mhm.
Cure.
Oh, that's
Just that
awesome.
Yeah.
swooping, yeah, as soon as
Yeah.
you said that, and I was like, "Yeah, I can hear where the influence comes in there." So, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And
Yeah,
obviously,
and that
one of
Maybe.
song's
my
much
favorite
more
soundtracks.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a Ghost is much more upbeat.
Yeah. So, I mean, back to the conversation of how streaming has affected how we make music. I call it a light as a record. It has to be this sort of
Mhm.
cohesive, not a concept record, but still somewhat cohesive. It's
Yeah.
sort of all a part of all the songs are a part of one thing. And then with streaming, I can just like put out singles.
Yeah.
And that sort of allows a certain freedom to where the song can just be the song without having to be defined by its neighbors, by the other songs on the
Right.
album. So it makes sense that I'm a Ghost feels like such a departure from everything that's on the record.
Do you feel
I mean, I
like
still
there are
love
snaps
records.
do you
Oh,
feel like there
absolutely.
is
Yeah.
snapshot, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I get that. I mean, like, with your previous bodies of work, you can hear where you are in that specific time. So, I mean, for that
Mhm.
evolving of I'm a Ghost, you can see where the steps been made. And
Absolutely.
and it's something that I find really interesting. And one of the things I wanted to ask you is because obviously I think you've got such a wide spectrum of sort of knowledge when it comes to music and such a love of everything that's there. If you could write with anybody from contemporary or historical time, who would it be
Hmm.
and why?
Yeah, so whenever I think about this question, who would I want to work with on a writing capacity or a recording capacity? The thing is, the problem that I run into always is the people that I love, my heroes. Um, I feel like I would just hinder their brilliance. There's a reason why they're my heroes because
Yeah.
they're so much better than me. So why would I want to saturate their brilliance by being like, "Hey, no, what if we do this instead?" So, okay, so let's just pick out all the heroes. Okay, all the people that I love. So then people that I don't like, and when I say heroes, I don't mean people like just from like what I grew up on. I mean like people now. Like all the people that are
Mm.
amazing that are making music right now. I don't want to bug them. And then everyone else, it's like, well, I don't really want to work with them because I don't love them. So, that's the issue that I kind of run into. Um,
Aw. It's
yeah,
the conundrum for you,
it's the
huh?
conundrum, right? There's a reason why I love them, and there's a reason I don't love other artists, and so I don't know. Making music can be a very solitary thing for me. So the idea of collaborating has always been appealing. I would just have to find the right person. And I don't think that right person is like someone that's like huge right now because
Mm.
I don't know. Maybe one day I'll meet my musical soulmate and we'll make something together.
Love it. Well, you just put out that Instagram reel where you were looking for, people to send you indie Korean
Yeah,
artists.
yes.
Maybe you'll
So,
find, a
right.
diamond in the rough there.
Yeah, I mean, because when it comes to Korean music or Korean culture, I'm very proud of our food. I love Korean
Well,
food.
of course, you should be.
And I love Korean cinema. Now, the one thing that is Korea's maybe the most known for is Korean music, which is K-pop.
Yeah.
And while I can appreciate it from a production standpoint, wow, this is like really well mixed. It's very clean. It's that, super catchy. It's not something that I personally like gravitate towards just because it's a stylistic, preference, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
So I just know about K-pop, and I don't even know about K-pop, but like the big ones like BTS and like I don't even know the music, anyways. But
You were on the right track. Stray Kids is a group, so you're
yeah,
good.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
okay.
I only know Stray Kids because people say I look like Suga. Is Suga from Stray Kids?
Oh, no, Suga is, from
Oh,
BTS.
Okay,
Jay,
okay, okay.
Jay,
Do you
we've
look
got to
like
be,
Suga? I
Jay,
don't know.
we've got to
I
be
don't think so.
careful here because Anne
Yeah,
is army. This is something to
I
bear in mind.
I do have
She is
I
yeah.
out
do
and
have a
out
plethora of
BTS
BTS
army.
behind me, sorry.
Sorry, I apologize for my
I don't
ignorance on
know
the
that you look
subject.
like Suga though, but
I did because I looked him up and I'm like, one, he's like way younger, way more handsome. Like I don't he has like long hair, right? That's probably it.
oh, he had long hair before he went to the military, but
Oh, right. and
But
that's
your
just
hair's a lot longer than his, so
yeah. This is my midlife crisis right now, but
Every
uh,
now and again, though, I just keep finding things and I throw them at Anne and I go, Anne, this isn't K-pop. Have a listen to this. And I'm thinking, she's going to hate it. It's really loud and aggressive. I'm getting there. I'm throwing hardcore bands and all sorts at her.
awesome. Well, so that was the post. I was like, but there has to be like Korean indie like that is amazing, but I just
yeah.
don't
Oh
Oh,
know
God,
about
yeah,
yeah.
it.
there
So
are.
that's
There's
why.
some.
I mean, I think that's why we're doing this podcast, right? It's
Yeah,
like, discovering the rose for me, but then through Kelly, just realizing there's so much out there in terms of other types of Korean music and
yeah,
Korean rock music. And it's just not as big as you're saying as the idol,
yeah.
market, but it's such quality music. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
that's why we started this podcast, just a way to give a voice to
That's
more
awesome.
artists. Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know. Do I qualify as Korean music? Because though I'm a
Hey, we'll
Korean
we'll
person.
we'll we'll allow we'll allow you to slide it in.
Okay,
We'll
okay,
allow
cool. You
it.
know where I was going. Okay. Because I'm like,
Well,
I'm in Jersey, like
I know, 'cause I think it's an interesting question because even within Korean music, I mean, obviously English lyrics have always been, sprinkled into like
right.
K-pop music, but you see more and more in that industry all English, and then it even kind of
Mm.
begs like what becomes Korean music. But I wanted to ask you about the one song.
Mm.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think you have used Korean lyrics other than in Who You Become.
Oh, you caught that?
Yes, you have this
Aw.
one line, and I was
Yeah.
fascinated by that, and I was just like, "Why?" I always wonder, it's like, why did he include one
Mm.
line in Korean?
That song's about, sort of treading the fact that we're all getting older. But the one silver lining is that as we get older, we get to, it's talking to a child, that
Yeah.
get to know the person that the amazing person that I know you will eventually become. And I wrote that for my two nieces. The first verse is Ari Bug, I say Ari Bug.
Yeah.
And then the second verse, I say Ellie Bear. And so their names are Ari and Ellie.
Aw.
And
Oh,
and they're Korean American like me, but they speak Korean at home.
Oh,
Sometimes.
they do.
And so
That's
they speak
great.
both. They speak better Korean than I do, if I'm being honest. And so I wanted to have like an inside, even though it's not really inside, it's a whole country, but a certain like Korean
everybody knows
Americans.
now.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's like a little inside message to them.
I loved that.
Yeah.
I loved that song. I'm a parent, and I think it, like, really resonated with me
Uh,
because I feel that way right about my child. I just can't wait to see the individual,
mhm.
that she grows into, the human she becomes, what she does in the world,
Right. I mean,
and
I
I
see
just
all this
loved that
potential.
song.
Yeah, thank you. It's bittersweet, right? Because while you're looking at this small kid and you're like, oh, like this is a moment in time that I'll never get to have again, right?
Yeah.
And this is this is a person that I'll never get to be with again because tomorrow they change so much through time.
Yeah.
So it's while that goes away, it's also this excitement of who they become.
Yeah, you're cool. You're the cool uncle today who
I
lets them do makeup on your face,
yeah.
but, like, eventually, Jay, they're gonna think you're not cool anymore
I
and,
know.
like, don't wanna hang out with you.
No, this is facts. This is facts. Um, if I'm being honest, I don't really know if they think I'm cool right now, but they love me, which is good. But yeah, it's inevitable. I'm gonna be like, why is he 50 and has long hair and like, dude, get the hint, right? Like, um, yeah,
I
it's
mean, they can
inevitable.
always say their uncle is a rock star, like, that's gotta be cool. When will that
Oh
not be
yeah.
cool? I don't know.
You know, when I tell when I was in my 20s and I would tell people I'm in a band. I was like, oh, I'm in a band. Like mid like 30s, you're like, I'm in a band. And then like as I'm approaching 40, it's like I'm in a band. Like you know?
They're like, "Wait, do you have another job?" Like, is that what they say now? It's like,
Yeah,
"What's
well,
your
yeah,
day
right.
job?" 'Cause
Well, it's just like, oh, like there's a certain like they're trying to be nice about the fact that I'm in this level of denial of of my existence. So no, that's nice. That's nice. Like It's like if a little kid was to say like, I don't know, like I'm a superhero, you know, it'd be like, oh, that's nice, honey.
Yeah.
I think one of the funniest things I read the other day is, so there's a UK band called Hot Milk from Manchester, and Hannah, their lead singer, had posted the fact that she'd said to her mum, "Oh, I've got an interview tomorrow," and she said the look of joy on my mum's face. She said, and I suddenly realised that she thought I was going for a new job. She's like,
That's
"No, mum, I'm still a
hilarious.
musician. I'm sorry."
Yeah. That's so funny. I
And,
love that.
and you do, yeah, but you do feel that way.
Yes, yeah, yeah, for sure. So honestly, now when people say like, you know, well, if they ask me, I just say I'm a songwriter. Somehow that sounds a little bit more
It sounds better, doesn't it?
inclusive, you know, than like, if I say I'm an artist, it sounds a little too pretentious, a little too douchey.
Yeah.
So I just go with songwriter. You know?
Yeah, it covers a multitude of
Well,
sins.
Yes, yes.
I think that's an excellent description because you are a great lyricist.
Oh, thank you.
Um, I
Yes.
have another kind of set of lyrics I wanted to talk about with you because I really loved in Sliding Down the Hill
Hmm.
where you talk about death in
Mm,
that, and I love some of the imagery you use. Like you say, death is cruel to only those left living shoveling the dirt.
mm.
That was
Yeah,
like a powerful line to me. And then you say, "So don't mourn, don't weep. We're given a gift and a curse. We're living but terminal at birth." Tell me a little more about those lyrics, kind
yeah.
of
Well,
what you were
you
saying
know,
there.
I was joking about my midlife crisis.
I know. I think I felt like yeah, I think I felt like connected in the same way to that.
And
Yeah.
that song it's about that. It's sliding down the hill, right? It's if life is a hill, the first half of it seems like you're climbing up, there's so much ahead of you. All you see is sky. The days go by slower when you're younger.
Yeah.
And then once you get to this sort of like midway point, and it's like a little hyperbolic because I'd hate to say that, like, there's
Yeah.
no more good things to come. But,
Right.
in the
Right.
time of writing that song, it sort of felt that way, where it feels like your best days are behind you, but you're, now all of a sudden the days don't go by slow. You're like literally sliding down this hill, and you can see the end, and you're aware of it. Death is cruel to only those left living shoveling the dirt. I don't know. I guess as I'm writing, as I'm going through the movie scenes in my head, I sort of saw that moment as like a letter to those at my funeral,
Mm.
Mm.
to say like it's okay. I don't feel pain because I literally don't feel anything. I'm dead. So
Yeah.
the pain is on you. Those that are left shoveling the dirt.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think I resonated so much with this song because when I turned 40, it was like I felt exactly like you said. Like I was like, "Okay, great.
Oh,
The
you turned
best
40.
years are
Okay, so
over.
you look younger.
Like it's all downhill from here."
Yeah.
Like what new is there for me? But
Right.
to be honest, then I think I in my midlife crisis of my 40s, like I started learning Korean and I would literally have people say to me, "Why would you learn a second language? You're so old now."
Women's midlife crises are always so much more cooler than men's midlife crises. Like you're just so productive. You're like, I'm gonna learn a language.
Yeah.
The guy thing to do is like get a Corvette.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Like, I just started all these new things, like, I
Yeah.
got super into Korean culture, Korean cooking, Korean music, like, I traveled to Korea, and, I had all these people in my life be like, what's wrong with you? Why are you doing all these things now? Aren't you too old for that?" That's what I got
Mm.
told. "Aren't you too old for that music? Aren't you too old to do that? Aren't you too old to try something new?"
But by doing all this stuff, you're proving to yourself that your adventure isn't over. That
I
and I
know,
love that.
yeah.
I love that you decide like, no, I'm still gonna be a better version than I was yesterday. So I'm still going up that hill. So maybe,
Yeah.
I don't think you're at your midlife then.
Yeah,
I think
but
your
I
best things are
love
still
that
ahead of you.
song, it really resonated with
Thank
me.
you. Thank you.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that line, terminal at birth, it's just to say that we're all dying, right?
Right,
And at
Yeah.
any
right.
point in our lives, we're all dying slowly.
What is your favorite lyric? Do you have a favorite lyric that you've written?
That's tough. It's funny you complimented me on my lyricism, and when I listen to music, I often don't even pay attention to lyrics, which is funny. Like
Mm,
melody is king. I think melody needs to work. It
Mm,
needs to be the best that it can be, and then the lyrics need to fit in that, and
mm.
not the other way around. But that's personally, right? If everyone followed that template, I don't think you would have some of the most amazing lyrics that exist. Some people work the other way around. Melody, lyrics first, then
Mm.
melody. But sorry, what was the question?
What's your favorite? Do you have a
Oh,
favorite
oh, oh,
lyric?
oh. So yeah, so to say, right, I was saying that because if I'm just reading it off a piece of paper, I don't know why I did Trump hands. If I'm just reading it off a piece of paper, it's tough to say. It's like I sort of need some of my lyrics are some of my favorite because of the music that they're
Mm.
it's because to me it's like integrated. But
So it sounds like you focus on the melody, so you start
yeah.
there, and then do you just come up with kind of then what feeling does this melody evoke, and now what story can I tell through the lyrics? Is that kinda how you work?
Yeah, so usually when you're writing these melodies, you're just blurting out gibberish, right? And the nice thing about recording by myself is I don't feel self-conscious about what might come out. So I
Yeah.
just literally some people just say non-words. I like to say words because I know that if
Mm.
if I accidentally say something too revealing, it's okay. I'm the only one in the room. So sometimes that can lead to what the song is actually going to be about. I say a phrase
Mm.
and I'm like, oh, I like the sound of that phrase and this melody. So let's build the song around that. Sometimes it's generic and trash. And so I then try to fit better words in, after I have the template of the music.
I find that fascinating. It seems like musicians, songwriters, Kelly, you've talked a little bit about your songwriting process. Seems like it's so unique to kinda
it
each
def
person. So it
it
fascinates
definitely
me.
is.
Yeah.
Do you work melody first as well, or do you go the other way
It
around?
it literally depends. I think it's one of those
Mm.
things that if somebody's had an idea in the actual room, and then the melody will come, and then I work very much like you. It's gibberish in my head that then becomes words, that then becomes this,
Mhm.
story. But there are other times I'll literally sit and write poetry, and I will shoehorn it into a melody. It's going in. It doesn't matter how I do it. It's
It's
gonna
too
fit.
damn good, right?
It's still
Yeah, I
go
feel
it's
that. I
gotta
feel
go,
that.
it's gotta go. I mean, I was in the studio literally a couple of a couple of weeks ago, and it was like, "Kelly, you need to cut that line." It's like, "I am not cutting that line, it is going in somewhere." So it went in as backing
Yes.
vocals. I was determined that that line had got to stay in because it wasn't gonna make sense otherwise.
You know what? You're so right. Okay, so I take back what I said because I realized the way I framed it was like, oh, these are my rules. When as Kelly just illustrated, there are no rules, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes yeah, sometimes that is the case. The line is so good that the melody can morph and maybe not be what you have, idealistically in your head to serve the lyric right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Kelly's talked about this in the podcast, so I really wanted to ask you this question because I think it's, again, kinda probably different for every music artist, but what type of relationship do you have with songs once you've written them and released them out into the world?
Um, some of them I never see again. It's a one night stand.
I said that as well.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and then some of them are like, yeah, some of them I go back and listen to. It's oftentimes when you're writing the song and you're in the demo phase, anything's possible. So you're so excited about it. You're like, and it doesn't sound the way it should sound yet, but you're feeling the way that you want to feel because you know that it's possible, that you know that it's gonna get there, or you hope that it's gonna get there, and it's like, oh man, like when that sounds like this, it's gonna be like so good. And then when the song's done, it just is what it is. No more
Mm,
possibility, right? No more
Mm.
change, no more tweaks on the mix. It just is what it is. So for me, when I hear songs that are already released, that are done, all I hear are the things that I wish I could have changed.
yes.
Oftentimes.
Mm.
That
Yeah?
drives me,
You
and it's
relate?
just those tiny, tiny, tiny little bits, and be like, "If I'd only just done that one thing."
Yes.
And
Because
and
then no
and
one
to
else will
actually,
notice, right?
nobody in the
Yeah.
world will notice any
Yes.
of this stuff at all, but yeah, you hear it and it screams so loudly, and you're just like, "Why did I not do this?" Yeah, I completely get where
Facts.
you're coming from with that. It drives me insane.
Absolutely. So my relationship to the songs is going to be completely different to anyone else's, and that's a beautiful thing. So it depends on the mood, depends on the day. Sometimes I listen to the song and I just appreciate it for what it is, and I
Mm.
say that's a cool song. I've heard of people taking drugs to like when they're in the mixing stage to just get a different perspective on the song.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know. Maybe I should try that, but
It's n I can't imagine it's a good idea, but I've heard people say
I
exactly the same thing just to get out of their own
yeah.
headspace.
That's so
Which
interesting. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it
For
it
some reason when I smoke, I get way too critical of myself. So yeah, I don't think it would work for me.
You
It
sound
would
like
yeah, it's
you're
probably
already
not a good
critical,
idea.
Shay. How can you
no,
get
this is a
even more
healthy level.
critical?
This is a healthy level of self-deprecation.
You
Yeah,
have
no.
to be critical though, because I mean, you sort of
Yeah.
I mean, to be a musician, you've got to be delusional anyway.
Hmm.
It's
You
just
always
part
say
of the
that, Kelly.
parcel. But you've got to be, haven't you? It's like at some point, I'm playing Donington. It's happening. I'm going to play Download at some point. It's probably delusional, but it's going to happen. But I mean, you've got to
Yeah.
think these things to get to that actual point,
Mhm.
but you've also got to be so critical of everything that you do. It's almost like or I find it's almost like you have to be hypercritical of what you're doing to sort of second
Mm.
guess what everybody else is going to think, which is really
Yeah. I mean,
hard when you're being vulnerable.
this is that
Yeah.
like dichotomy that I think all artists have, which is like it seems like two contradicting things, which is this sort of
Mm.
like overinflated sense of self, right? Like you have to, right, like you just said. I mean, even for me to think that anyone's gonna care about what I have to say or what I have to sing,
Mm.
it like takes a little bit of like a inflated self,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
And but also at the same time, we're like the most insecure, and they say this about actors, the most beautiful people in the world, right?
Mhm.
That they're both
Yeah.
the most egotistical people and also the most insecure people, and these two things that seem opposing exist at the
Mhm.
same time, and I think
Mm.
that's sort of
Kelly, you just shared that article with me around, like, musicians and such high depression and suicide rates.
Oh, that
Mm.
was
Um,
insane when I read
yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
but then again, thinking about it, and I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
personal experience of these things and all that goes through your head is
Burnout, the level
it's
of
burnout.
burnout.
I mean,
Mhm.
it's surviving at this sort of high peak level all the time, and that again goes back to your question about using like multiple hats. I mean, when do you finish being the musician? Because you're
Yeah,
also marketing, you're this, you've got to be a
that's a
comedian, you just
that is
everything.
such a
It's
great point.
insane.
When it's time for marketing, it's like a switch that you have to flip. You have to get out
Mhm.
of this mode. That's so true that I had to learn that it's just like two different parts of my brain. Yeah, I
Mm.
mean it's all sort of like encompassed by this one thing that's just creation. Okay, creating, but like marketing versus art. Absolutely. When do you flip that switch? It's really tough. When I made that first record, I didn't have to deal with it because I didn't tell anyone about Francis Doom. I didn't like do anything with the socials until the record was done. And in
Mm.
this way, I could just be like, boom, like this is who I am. This is the music. But now I'm running into this issue of, I'm recording right now actually a new song, and also during the day that I'm recording, I have to find time to make a post. So I have to flip
Mhm.
that switch within a
Yeah.
day, and that can get a little tricky.
Well, we have an interesting question, and because you had this amazing answer about explaining the ballroom and fire on space. I can't wait to hear you answer this. How would you describe your music to someone who was deaf that could not hear?
I'm sorry I came up with this one. I apologize.
No,
I
no,
love
it's
this
it's a good
question. I'm
question.
fascinated by Jay's answer.
My brain goes to like the most practical sense of it, which is I. So I know that people that can't hear music love dubstep and heavy metal because they simply like the vibrations of it.
Mm.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering from that. I don't know. I'm just coming. I don't know which way to come at this, but I guess if I was to describe, I would say like being in the ocean where
Mm.
it can be calm and it can be peaceful and it could also be violent and
Mm.
it can be all those things
Mhm.
and wet.
Fair enough. I mean, that makes
We'll
perfect
leave that
sense
one
with
there.
some of the stuff.
Yeah. It's a little salty.
Just a little.
Yeah, and if it's
Oh,
in Jersey, it's gonna have urine in it. I mean,
I think that's everywhere, to be perfectly honest.
oh, okay, there you go.
Oh. So have you been writing music since you were pretty young?
Yeah, yeah, I would say so. When I was like my first favorite band was Boys to Men, which is like not even a band.
No way!
Yeah, when I was young, like a kid, like a child, R&B was like my jam. Yeah.
Really?
Um,
Is that where this kind of like doo-wop then's maybe peeking its way
maybe. I mean,
through?
I still bop hard to it. So like the first things that I like would like tinker on a piano, like I don't know, 7, thinking about like sort of like just mimicking like
Mhm.
lyrics that I don't know what the hell they mean. What do I know about love? You know, like I don't know,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like or like you know, but it's just mimicking my heroes on the piano. So pretty young, and then but never thought like I never so the great thing about like technology and self-recording is like I don't have to rent studio space to like, write a song
Yeah,
to finish
right.
the song.
Mm.
And so I could just do it all myself. And when I was growing up as a teen, that wasn't the case. To where everyone in their bedroom could just have this recording studio basically in their bedroom. So I was always in a band. I was always just adding my a bit of myself to the
Mm,
larger picture. Once I started getting familiar with Logic, I probably like in my early 20s, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna write this guitar part, but then I'm gonna write this guitar part, and I'm just gonna write the drums, and I'm just gonna, and like I just loved that. It was like there's
mm.
talking about cutting out the middleman. There's no middleman between what I want this to be in my head and
Mm.
what I want this to be when it reaches people's ears. That's when I really got into just like, all right, let's just make it like whatever you want this to be.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I think we went through all of our questions. Kelly, is there anything else before we wrap up with Jay?
No, there isn't. I think it is time we put him on the spot.
Okay, so we always wrap up Jay with kind of a would you rather segment. And I came up with a serious one and a funny one.
Okay,
I'm going to let you pick. Do you want me to ask you a serious one or a funny one?
let's go serious. I feel like most people would say funny, so
Okay.
let's go serious.
Okay. So you have a reel on your Instagram page
Hmm.
and you talk about kind of this would you rather question and you get all the way to the end and you never actually say what the answer is. So now I need you
Huh.
to tell our listeners. You talk about would you rather play only music live
Oh.
or only record and write music? And you get all the way up to the end of your
Hmm.
reel and then you're like, I would pick and then and then it ends.
Oh, you
So
know
now
why? So that was on Instagram.
yeah,
That's hilarious that that's when it cut off because Instagram, the reels can only be a minute and 30.
yeah.
So like I made the full video on TikTok and then that's
I'm like
hilarious.
on the edge of my seat
I
watching it on
bet.
Instagram, and then it literally cuts you right when you say, "I would pick."
That's hilarious. Yeah, I wish that was an intentional cliffhanger there.
Oh,
No,
well, see, I thought it was.
no, this one's easy for me. I would pick writing and recording all day, every day. Again, while I love both, I couldn't picture myself being a session musician, which is like someone that just gets hired to
Mm.
play shows. They have nothing to do with the creation of it, just the execution of it. And I
Mhm.
mean, these dudes. One, I couldn't be that guy because I'm just not that good at my instrument. Like these dudes are monsters at their instrument. That's never been my
Mm.
strong suit. Is the actual, I just couldn't picture myself being that guy. And if I could just hide away in the studio and just make music quietly or loudly
Mm.
to myself, I'd be a happy boy.
Do you do writing for other artists?
I don't actually. Well, so I make music for commercials and like TV spots and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So clients make music for other people,
Yeah.
but not like for other artists
Would
to.
you do that?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all just good fun. Like, let's not take ourselves too seriously. Making music is always just fun.
I love that. Well, when it stops becoming fun, then I guess, that's not good, right? Like it
No,
should
yeah.
always be something that you're enjoying that's driving you.
I mean, everything else that comes with music is miserable enough. So if it stops being
Yeah, right.
fun and you're just left with the misery, like fuck that. I'm out of here.
Yeah, for sure. So, Jay, as we wrap up, is there anything you want to promote to our listeners?
um Oh, so I just released a cover yesterday, which I haven't released a cover ever before, but I got a birthday request on TikTok, like, hey, can you cover Creep by Radiohead
Wait,
for your birthday?
you like somebody just randomly like requested that?
Yeah, and they're just like, it would make my day, and it's a person that like comments a lot and just shows a lot of
That's
support.
so great.
And honestly, Radiohead is my favorite band. It's just funny because out of all their amazing songs, this is like on the very, very bottom of songs that I would ever cover because one, it's just like the most covered song, you
Yeah.
know,
Mm.
and two, it's like not definitely not one of the most interesting songs, but why not? So I did it, and then it got like a bunch of attention on TikTok, and like all these people saying, can you do the full thing? So I'm like, all right, maybe this is the time I do a full cover and release it on Spotify. So I did that, and because it's my first time releasing a cover, Kelly, I don't know if you've ever released a cover before on like the streaming platforms, but if you do, they say it's going to take up to 14 days for the licensing to
Yeah.
clear. So that's okay. So and then I just picked like the nearest date. Anyways, it just sort of got like a mess. And then like people are just like messaging me like, "Hey, it's out," and I'm like, "Wait, it is? I didn't like.
It's like
Wait, what?" And so I just like the whole release of it was botched. But that being said, it's out now. And I hope you like it.
The cover art for that is beautiful. Did you design
Thank
that?
you. Oh my god, dude! If you knew like just how little thought went into that, I literally was like, yeah, I
Beautiful.
literally sent it to my guy that uploads it for me, and then I'm like, yeah, let's just get this out right away. Because with things that like it's time sensitive. If it's like hot on TikTok, you want to get it
Right,
out before
right.
yeah,
before it dies
exactly.
down.
You've got to get it done.
So I'm like, all right, let's get this out right away. And he's like, okay, cool. And then he messages me back like 5 minutes later. He's like, oh, by the way, I need cover art. It's like, oh, that's right. Duh. I take my phone and I go like this, literally right here in this spot. In this spot, I go like this.
I love that.
Bring it to Photoshop. I like do things on Photoshop to it.
And it's so cool. I love the, like, young version of yourself. You,
You
like
can see that. Okay, like the
Yes!
okay, cool.
Yes, I loved that, and then the use of the yellow?
Well, so I was on the cover of Pablo Honey, which is the record that Creep is on.
Mm.
There's like a baby's head, and then there's
Yeah.
there's like flower I don't know, pistils and like cookies. And so I was trying to recreate that, and it was just starting to look like someone that didn't know how to use Photoshop. That's what that looked like.
I love that.
And so so I just like try to like keep with some of the themes. Okay, like I'll keep the baby picture, I'll keep the yellow because and so that just turned out to be that. Yeah.
Oh my god, I love it.
Thank
It's
you.
so eye-catching
Thank
to
you.
me.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
so everybody go stream the cover of Creep. You also have a gig coming up. You wanna
Yes.
promote that for anybody
Oh
in the New Jersey
yes.
area?
It is in April. Fuck.
It's 23rd, isn't it?
If it is, I don't know. Okay, well, just Google it. It's in April. It's
I'm
in New
pretty sure it's
Jersey.
April 23rd.
Okay, I'm gonna believe you. It's in New Jersey at a venue called Crossroads, and if you come, I will hug the crap out of you, and we will be best friends. And the nice part is, um, I'm playing second to last, so right before this band has their record release show, that's when I'm playing. That means I'm not playing last. That means after I play, I'm getting drunk, and so we're
There
hanging
you
out.
go.
Yeah, and I'm not on tour, so I don't have to worry about like preserving my voice. We're hanging out, we're drinking, we're having a great time. So come out. Yeah.
This is Editor Cal. Now, of course, Jay and Anne both got the date wrong. The actual date of the Francis Doom show is Friday, the 25th of April, and it's at Crossroads in Garwood in New Jersey. And the tickets are $15 each, and they are available via Jay's website, which is francisdoommusic.com.
Yeah, yeah. What's your drink of choice?
If it's a shot, like a Don Julio tequila. Yeah.
Oh, what is up with everybody in the tequila lately? I feel
Yeah.
like that's like the hot drink.
Is it? I could
Yeah.
just I don't know brown liquor. Like I'll do brown liquor if someone's like I got you a shot, but it's never like my choice. And
If you
then
don't do shot, what's your drink? Like
I'm embarrassed to say, like,
Oh
my
my god, is it
talent,
like a Cosmo? Is it like something really
dude,
girly?
like something, yeah, those all those like girly cocktails,
Sex on the beach?
they're so delicious. Like, why wouldn't I go with the most delicious choice? Like pina coladas are awesome. Are you kidding me? And I get an umbrella? Like,
Oh
yeah, and it's all good.
God.
But in fairness, if I'm out in public and I'm trying to not appear so feminine, I'll get a Jack and Coke.
A Jack and
Of
Coke.
Yeah.
I'm
course.
a gin and tonic girl. That's what you start
Okay.
doing gin and tonic. You can't go wrong with that, Jay.
That's classy.
Yeah, see? There you
Yeah.
go. Extra lime.
Okay.
Hendrix if you got it.
All right.
Kelly told me that is called Mother's Ruin, apparently. I learned all these Britishisms through our relationship, which is so fun.
That's actually the name of my next song is Mother. No, I'm
Ooh,
kidding.
nice segue.
But it will be now. That's poetic as fuck.
Oh. You said you are working on new music. Do you have any timing when that might come out?
No, I'm sort of we're I did the drums this week. The bass just got done, so I'm just still putting it together. So
Nice.
yeah.
Well, we're gonna be here to promote you when it comes out,
Thank you so
so
much, you guys, for every
yeah.
time you share on your stories or whatever. It's just so nice of you. Love y'all. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you again, Jay. We really appreciate, you giving us your time, talking about your music. We love your music. On the reel today, I've already had people say that they started following you on
Mhm.
Spotify. So we really do hope that it helps to spread the word of just your music because it's so good. More people need to know, need to listen. So
I
thank you
appreciate
again.
that. Thank you.
Thank
I
you
can't wait to be
so
back.
very Thank you so very, very much. And yeah, definitely come back and speak to us again soon.
Awesome. Sounds like a
All
deal.
right.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Please rate our podcast. Leave us comments about this episode. We'd love to hear your feedback. Continue to email us. Thank you to all the listeners who continue to send us amazing emails. We love them so much and really appreciate it. Follow us on social media. On Instagram and X are at krock_cast.
Click here to subscribe.
We just started a TikTok account. So if you're on TikTok, follow us on TikTok. Again, it's at krock_cast. Email us at krock.cast@gmail.com. All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.